Have you ever felt that chilling sensation crawling up your spine when the clock strikes midnight? That moment when the world goes silent and the shadows seem to come alive? Tonight, I'm going to share with you 3 of the most terrifying late-night horror stories, real-life incidents that will make you question what lurks in the darkness. So, turn off the lights, grab a blanket, and let's dive into the unknown. But be warned, once you hear these stories, you might never look at the night the same way again. It was a cold, moonless night in October when Sarah, a 28-year-old nurse, returned home after a long shift at the hospital. Exhausted, she dragged herself up the stairs to her apartment on the 3rd floor. The hallway was dimly lit, and the flickering fluorescent light above her door gave the place an eerie vibe. But Sarah was used to it. She unlocked her door, stepped inside, and locked it behind her. She made herself a cup of tea and sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone. The apartment was quiet, too quiet. That's when she heard it, a faint whisper, barely audible, coming from the corner of the room. She froze. The voice was soft, almost like a child's, but the words were indistinct. Sarah tried to convince herself it was her imagination. She turned on the TV to drown out the noise, but the whispers grew louder. They seemed to be coming from everywhere. The walls, the ceiling, even the floor. Her heart raced as she grabbed a knife from the kitchen and searched the apartment. But there was no one there. The whispers continued every night after that. They would start at exactly 11:34 p.m. and stop at 3 a.m. Sarah tried everything, praying, burning sage, even staying at a friend's house. But no matter where she went, the whispers followed. One night, she decided to record the sounds on her phone. When she played it back, her blood ran cold. Amid the static, she could hear a child's voice clearly saying, "Don't leave me here." Sarah moved out of the apartment a week later, but to this day, she swears that sometimes, late at night, she still hears those whispers, and they're getting closer. John was a taxi driver who worked the night shift in a small, foggy town. He was used to picking up strange passengers, but one night, he encountered something he could never explain. It was around 2 a.m. when he got a call to pick up a passenger from an old, abandoned train station on the outskirts of town. The station had been closed for decades, and no one ever went there. But John needed the money, so he drove to the location. When he arrived, he saw a woman standing under a flickering street lamp. She was dressed in a long white dress, her hair covering her face. John rolled down the window and asked, "Where to?" The woman didn't say a word. She simply pointed ahead and got into the back seat. John felt a chill run down his spine, but decided to focus on the road. As he drove, he glanced in the rearview mirror and noticed something strange. The woman wasn't moving. She sat perfectly still, her head tilted downward. After about 10 minutes, John asked, "Are you okay back there?" Still no response. He pulled over and turned around, but the back seat was empty. The woman was gone. Panicked, John called the dispatcher and explained what had happened. The dispatcher went silent for a moment before saying, "John, you're the 3rd driver to report that exact same thing this month." John quit his job the next day, but sometimes when he's driving late at night, he swears he sees a figure standing under a flickering street lamp, waiting. Emily was a college student living in a small, off-campus apartment. Her room had a large window that overlooked a dark wooded area. She often stayed up late studying, and one night she noticed something strange. It was around 1 a.m. when she saw a face pressed against the glass. At first, she thought it was a trick of the light, but as she looked closer, she realized it was a man, pale, with hollow eyes and a twisted smile. Emily screamed and ran to her roommate's room. When they returned, the face was gone. They called the police, but no one was found. The officers assured her it was probably just a prank, but the face kept coming back. Every night at the same time it would appear. Emily started sleeping with the curtains closed, but she could still feel its presence. She would hear tapping on the glass and faint laughter. One night, she decided to confront it. She grabbed a flashlight and looked out the window. The man was standing in the woods, staring directly at her. He raised a hand and pointed to the ground beneath her window. The next morning, Emily and her roommate found a shallow grave dug in the dirt. Inside was a small rusted box containing a note that read, "I've been watching you." Emily moved out immediately, but she still wonders, who was that man, and why was he watching her?